The snow still falls over Moscow. The steppes still stretch endless across Eurasia. But instead of onion domes and Orthodox crosses, the skyline is pierced by minarets. The call to prayer echoes where church bells once tolled. Russia, vast, frozen, powerful, is a Muslim nation. So what happens next? To understand this alternate reality, we rewind the clock, not decades, but centuries. The turning point, 5052, the siege of Kazan. In our history, Ivan the Terrible crushed the Muslim Khanate of Kazan, opening the door for Orthodox Russia to expand eastward. But in this timeline, Ivan fails, the Tatars hold, and with that one defeat, the dominoes fall differently. The Russian heartland, then still forming, is influenced, even absorbed by Islamic states. Over time, Moscow doesn't become the third Rome. It becomes the new Samarkand. Instead of uniting under Orthodoxy, the Rus principalities unify under Islam, shaped by trade with the Ottomans and the Persian Safavids. The Quran replaces the Bible in state ceremonies. Arabic script adorns coins and court records. A different kind of empire rises from the taiga. By the 18th century, instead of Peter the Great westernizing Russia, we get a different reformer, call him Farukh the Enlightener. He opens madrasas to modern science, sends scholars to Cairo, Delhi, and Istanbul, and builds a navy not to mimic Europe but to challenge it. And here's where it gets global. Napoleon still marches east in 1812. But the Russian response is steeped in jihad, not wholly Orthodox resistance. European observers are stunned, not by snow or scorched earth, but by disciplined Muslim armies, quoting the Quran as they defend the motherland. The czars? They never exist. Instead, Russia is ruled by caliphs, or perhaps a council of emirs. Russian imperialism still happens, but now Central Asia isn't colonized, it's incorporated. The Muslim identity of Kazakhs, Uzbeks, and Chechens isn't erased. It's elevated. Siberia still falls under Russian control, but its indigenous shamanistic traditions coexist under a pluralist caliphate. Fast forward to the 20th century. There is no Russian Revolution as we know it. Marxism struggles to gain traction in a deeply Islamic society. Lenin may still exist, but he's in exile preaching atheism in a world grounded in theism. The Bolsheviks are fringe, crushed early by a religiously unified state that has fused Islamic law with modern governance. World War II still comes. Hitler still rises, but now, Nazi Germany faces a Muslim Russia, one that views the fight not just as defense of territory, but of faith. The Battle of Stalingrad becomes the Battle of Stalingrad. Soviet iconography never rises. Instead, crescent-bearing flags wave across the Eastern Front. The Cold War, it still arrives, but it's a Cold War between American capitalism and Islamic socialism. Not secular communism, but a theology-infused geopolitical giant. Iran is no longer the Islamic counterweight to the West. Russia, it funds Islamic movements globally, not out of revolutionary zeal, but out of religious solidarity. Africa, the Middle East, South Asia, a different kind of global alignment forms. And what about a Muslim-majority Russia might still launch Sputnik, but the first words in space aren't Russian engineering pride. They're Bismillah-ir-Rahman-ir-Rahim. Culture shifts too. Russian literature doesn't vanish. It transforms. Tolstoy and Dostoevsky exist, but their works wrestle not with Orthodox guilt, but with Quranic ethics. Russian music, art, philosophy, all flow through a different spiritual river. And today, we may see a Russia allied more naturally with the Muslim world. From Indonesia to Morocco, no Chechen wars, no internal ethnic strife across the Caucasus. A unified Islamic identity binds what was once fractured by imperial Orthodox expansion. But with power comes tension. A Muslim Russia challenges both the West and the traditional centers of Islamic authority. Mecca, Cairo, Tehran, all must contend with a new heavyweight on the global stage. And America, it still watches Russia warily, but not because of Soviet missiles, because of soft power from mosques in Moscow, oil deals brokered in Kazan, and a worldview that's not secular but sacred. In the end, Russia as a Muslim nation doesn't just shift faith, it reshapes history, empire, ideology, war, diplomacy. None escape the ripple, because when the largest country on earth bends toward Mecca, the whole world tilts with